didn't even brush your hair for this one.
Action!
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Ink Live, the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and artists in the publishing industry. With me tonight is the lovely Miss Katie Saulitis.
Hi, guys!
And we do have two very special guests that I'm going to introduce. But first, I want to give you a little word from our sponsor, Book Branders. Book Branders is your self-publishing concierge, providing package and a la carte solutions to get your book to market. From book design to editing and marketing, their team of professionals can help you successfully bring your book to market without breaking the bank. You can contact Book Branders at bookbranders.com, super easy, and they'll give you a free 10-step guide to successful self-publishing. And I happen to know someone who does a little bit of work with Book Branders. I can't tell you who, it's super secret, but she says they're a pretty cool company. All right, so tonight we have two guests that have been on before and they're good friends of mine and awesome people. We have first Mr. Bryan Tann.
Oh, I have returned.
How you doing tonight, Bryan?
Oh, I am doing great. I am in a good mood. I've got my snacks. I've got coffee. I'm great.
And you're going out for karaoke tonight.
Yes, I am. And I intend to drink enough Iron City that I might be mistaken for a keg.
Ooh, excellent, excellent. Also joining us, we have, well, I don't even know how to intro you, Kindra, because you do so much. And, well, I'm just going to call you the Queen of Horror for now.
There you go.
Kindra Sowder.
Hey, guys.
Yay.
Well, how are you doing tonight, Kindra?
I'm doing all right. I'm like Bryan, I've got coffee. I'm good.
You got coffee, you've got a cat in the background. Life is good.
Well, you've got an awesome bird in the background, man.
I know.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually bird sitting for a friend right now. So there's two of them back here. This one is I call her Vulture, and it'll be obvious why. She's a stress plucker. So she's plucked all the feathers around her neck, which is a bummer. So we're trying to do a little bit of treatment there, see if we can't get her feeling better. But yeah, and the other one's not feeling very sociable, so he's hiding out.
Oh,
I'll go
okay.
right back up there, Jazzy.
See,
yeah, they're pretty.
You make me not afraid of birds. I'm usually afraid of birds, but you make me not scared of birds.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing, Bryan, because I have successfully picked up birds just as many times as I've had the shit bitten out of me. And it hurts when they bite.
Well, I can imagine. I've seen Hitchcock's The Birds. They don't look very
I
nice.
have to say that Alfred Hitchcock ruined birds for everyone.
Yes, that's what scared me. And then I went to the Pittsburgh Aviary and I saw a bald eagle like up close, and I said, "Yeah, no, thank you."
Those things are amazing, dude. Oh,
they're
my God.
gorgeous, but frightening because they even look at you like, "Now you know I'm gonna hurt you."
Yeah,
I'm just letting you know I'm gonna hurt you.
Well, come here again, Jazzy. Come here. Well, and if you look at her toes, if you look at the size of those nice little talons on there,
yeah.
You think about a bald eagle having talons that are that long,
not like as long as my middle finger. Yeah.
Aren't birds the distant relation to the dinosaur?
Well, the velociraptors actually turned into parrots. That's a scientific fact.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if I get a parrot, I have a pet pterodactyl. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I want one.
But and she does.
Well, I'm gonna go into work and like, this is my therapy pterodactyl.
Well, in this, some of them are very sweet. Like this one does a neat trick and give kisses. You give kisses. Oh, no kisses. Well, she's being shy. Usually, she'll give me a kiss. Give me a kiss.
Oh,
you even get a little bit of tongue there, huh?
I'm just imagining that beak going through and piercing your lip.
Well, I don't care. I don't care what Katie said. You know what? That right there, Sharon is in trouble tonight because I'm going at her birdie style.
Ooh, damn, Sharon.
Well, if that's okay with you.
I like that. I like that outfit, Sharon.
Completely derailed topic, and we're not even like 5 minutes into the show.
I know, right?
We're
Well,
good
that's
like that.
my fault.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we should have you guys reintroduce yourselves for the listeners that might not have seen you the first time around. So tell us what you write. Whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Kendra.
Okay. As Jason said, my name is Kindra Sowder. I write the mostly speculative fiction, ranging from horror, science fiction, fantasy. I've even branched out into magical realism and urban fantasy. I write the Miss Hyde novellas, the Permutation Archives, the Executioner trilogy, the Initiative books, and then I have all kinds of short stories floating around out there. So I have plenty for everyone.
And now I've been trying to follow this, but I am so scatterbrained when it comes to social media. You were working with somebody Cirillo, right?
Santiago Cirillo. Yep. Oh yeah.
Santiago Cirillo. What were you doing with him?
It's actually our series called Zombified. The first book is actually out. That's like, sometimes I forget to list things, so I'm sorry. But he was on season 4 of The Walking Dead, and I met him at MonsterCon years ago. And he had the screenplay that he wanted to turn into a series of books. So we have the first one out, and we're working on the second.
That's awesome. Very cool. Now, who did he play in The Walking Dead?
He was Julio. He was one of the guys in the season with the prison, season 4. So he was oh goodness.
He wasn't he one of the mayor's guys, wasn't he?
No, he was actually one of the guys that they had actually found at the back of the prison that had snuck in through that, like.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
I remember now.
He was one of those guys.
Okay. Well, I have to rewatch it and keep an eye out for him then. That was the best season, though.
I was just getting ready to say that was the best season of the series for me.
Yeah, it was
cool.
super.
Well, Bryan, tell us a little bit about what you write, because you write a little bit with Kindra too, don't you?
Yes, I do. Product placement. Thank you, Disney.
I love Rogue One.
I write a little bit of everything because I have ADHD. I write a little bit of horror. I've written the little bit of horror, action, sort of buddy comedy-ish. I've got 2 books out that are in that genre. The Path of Redemption series, the first book being The Enforcer, book 2 being The Hunted, of the Bryce Creed story of Bryce Creed, The Enforcer, Bryce Creed, The Hunted. Some sci-fi, actually, which is part of the reason why I've started to get known. I wrote a spinoff to Kindra's Permutation Archive series titled The Permutation Archives Division, the John Baker Chronicles. Book 1, The Invincible Heart, is already out. Book 2, Unbreakable Mind, is coming out in December. I've also written some crime, thriller, horror, erotica. That book, Ed and Livy, it's out now. It's basically what happens when 2 of the nicest people in the world get pushed too far. A lot of madcap mayhem ensues.
I like it.
I've also got another horror novel that's going to be coming out in 2019 titled The Concussion, not to be confused with the Will Smith movie. And book 3 of the Bryce Creed series will be coming out around late 2019 as well.
Okay.
Both of you guys are very prolific authors. How do you guys keep writing, keep the ideas flowing so long? Because you guys have been doing this for quite a while too.
The good thing is I have backup. So if I can't come up with anything, I've got a whole folder sitting on my computer of ideas that I came up with a long time ago that have not seen the light of day. So I still got plenty of that stuff to work on. And that, I think that's going to keep me going for a long time. I think I had told maybe Bryan once that I would be writing until I died, because there's no way I was going to get anything done.
Yeah, same here. I'm nowhere near as organized as Kindra is, for one. But I've always described my brain as a huge hard drive. But all the stories are fragmented.
I thought you were going to say hard something else, but
yeah. So basically, as the hard drive spends to defrag, there's a little piece of the story here that comes in, and then a little piece here. So I'll be writing until I die. It's just different nightmares, different daydreams, different everythings that end up getting their own stories.
Now,
So,
not for lack of ideas, but for motivation purposes, how do you keep yourself going, especially during not necessarily the dry spells, but during those moments of like imposter syndrome?
Ooh, good question, Kate.
that is.
That's a good question.
Honestly, I just look at it as if I stop writing, I might as well be dead. To be honest, if I'm going to be frank, I mean, there's nothing else really that I can do. The whole idea of doing the 40-hour-a-week rat race, the idea of it depresses me to the point that if I'm not doing something that makes me feel like I'm breaking out of that, I'm probably going to lose my mind. So,
you know, I'm pretty much in the same boat as Bryan. I mean, if I'm not writing, I might as well not be doing anything. That's what I want to do, and that's what I can envision myself still doing in the future. So having that vision for my own future career is motivation enough, for sure.
exactly. It's kind of like I told my kid. My kid I'm so excited for him because he's at that age, he's 9 now, that he likes a little bit of everything. So he's searching for his passion. And I told him last night, I said, dude, I'm so jealous of you because that search is half the fun of life when you're finding your passion. So, and I asked myself, if I hit the Powerball tomorrow and, after Uncle Sam finishes what he does and I have money that I don't have to work anymore, what am I still going to do? I'm still going to be sitting on the laptop typing away, coming up with the next story idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it'll be even better because you won't have to be worried about the day job to pay the bills to do it.
Exactly.
You'll just be able to write for enjoyment.
Exactly. I told myself one day, Harper Lee, man, she got so lucky. She wrote To Kill a Mockingbird and didn't do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't have to. Like, she really, like, she wrote this masterpiece and then just never had to be bothered with anyone ever again.
Yeah.
So I think that whenever I write something, it's like, is this going to be my version of To Kill a Mockingbird?
You mentioned that, and that's actually on my daughter's reading list for school. I have to pick up a copy of the book for her for next
Oh, man.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Well,
Stay away from The Watchtower. It's very disappointing. The sequel, stay away from it.
Oh man,
and
That's disappointing.
It really is. It really was. It broke my heart. It really did. It really broke my heart. So thankfully, I've erased that memory. It's gone now.
I understand what you mean, Bryan, because one of my favorite classic pieces of movie making of all time was Jurassic World, and I recently watched the sequel to Jurassic World, and it just didn't cut it. It didn't.
Oh, don't tell me that. Now I don't know if I want to watch it.
Go on to YouTube and watch the honest trailer for Jurassic World.
There you go. You know what? Honest Trailers is great. I recently discovered Everything Wrong With.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Cinema Sins. Shout out to Cinema Sins, man.
But you know what?
Those
Cinema
guys,
Wins. Check out Cinema Wins too, because Cinema Sins is great for seeing all the negative, but sometimes you want to see the positive, and Cinema Wins does the exact same thing, but on the positive. So it's a great balance to watch both of them back to back.
Oh, nice. I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that.
You can't ever watch those if you haven't seen the movie, though, because it will totally ruin it.
Yeah, because it's like, what's happening?
I'll wait.
Yes.
No,
So hey, if you haven't seen Taken, don't watch it.
Well, I think we all know the plot of Taken by now.
Yeah.
There was
Worst parent
14
ever.
of them.
Worst
No, but
parent of all time.
Kindra, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was a fun movie. I mean, it's a fun action-y dinosaur movie, and it's got Chris Pratt, my boyfriend, in it. So that's always fun. But it just, it felt a lot like Jurassic Park: The Lost World. Where it just didn't quite measure up to Jurassic Park.
But see, I'm a huge fan of the original trilogy anyways. So when they brought it back and I watched the first one, that one was a lot of fun. And now to hear that the second one is disappointing, I just
find it interesting that you can train a raptor with a dog clicker.
Obviously.
That's just amazing. That is so freaking cool. It's the classic, just because you can do it, that doesn't mean you should.
Seriously.
Haven't we already had 3 movies that say making dinosaurs is not a good idea?
You're gonna like pointing out every single thing they said on the Honest trailer.
But it's true.
They even did the side-by-side comparison of the Fallen Kingdom and the Lost World, like scene for scene, what matched up.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. I've got to watch that.
Oh, it's but I mean, serious. It's like theoretically, I could go outside right now and kick a cop in the balls, but that's probably not a smart idea.
Oh,
no.
Probably not. Brian, I don't want to. I don't want you to die, Brian.
Making a dinosaur. I really do.
I don't want you helping me write books from prison, okay?
Fair enough.
Although, you know what? He'd have a lot more time to concentrate.
Very true. It's just that now every book is only going to be on like 4 sheets of paper written like this small. You're going to have to get magnifying glasses.
Well, you don't want to be the person that translates that into Word.
Well,
because it'll probably be me.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I sent you guys my gang affiliation letter. I apologize.
Well, hey, since we're off topic again, let's veer back onto topic. We wanted to talk about book to movie adaptations, right? Which is great that we were talking about dinosaurs because that series actually was based off of novels, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was. Michael Crichton.
Okay, so a lot of authors want to do that book to movie adaptation, but it's really it's complicated and confusing to figure out even how to take those steps. And Kindra, I know you've been in talks on, or at least gone further than just in talks on adapting something.
I have. The Miss Hyde novellas is actually currently being adapted into an 8-episode first season, which right now is still in the works on production and everything. Once we have something together, like together, that's when we go and we're gonna, pitch to Netflix, Hulu, all that stuff. So it hasn't been picked up by anybody yet, but we're getting to that process. So we do have the studio and the production company already working on pretty much anything that we're gonna need.
So walk us through how that happened.
Networking. We actually went to. It's not going to be run anymore because they didn't make enough money the first 2 years that they did it. This year is actually last year is actually their last time. Big Fandom Greenville here in Greenville, South Carolina, which for us is about 45 minutes away. We actually met someone named Torch Baldwin. He is a producer, owns a studio, things like that. And he wanted to do it himself, but he didn't have time. So he was like, he kind of tapped the shoulder of Bad Drone Studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, and said, "Hey, this is great. You guys should do it." So once that took place, we actually were put in contact with Tim Baker, who is the guy that runs Bad Drone Studios, and the rest is history. So we've just been kind of working and progressing towards actually putting everything together, and that's where Bryan comes in.
Yeah, and what part is Bryan playing in this process?
He is helping me write the screenplays for the episodes.
Okay, so
it seems as though my writing career is it's going to be forever hitched onto the Kindra Sowder train.
Hey, there are worse people you could be hitched onto.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So Kindra, when you're doing this, and I have a friend that has been on a couple shows for Animal Planet, and what he told me is that there are some times where the network commissions the show or commissions a season of the show, and there are other times where the production company will go and record the whole show and then try to get a network to buy it. Is that kind of what you guys are doing right now?
Pretty much. Well, really, I don't think we're going to do every single episode first. What we're really going to do is get all of the information together that we need, all of the screenplays. We're even going to have our trailer put together that we're going to need and everything, and then we'll go forth and we'll do what we need to do, because most networks, what they want is they'll give you 15 minutes, and that's all you get. So you've got to pack as much information into that first 15 minutes. And that trailer is going to take at least 2 of those minutes, because that's really the longest that they'll look at a trailer for. So we'll have that as kind of a sample, like, hey, look, this is what it is, and this is what we're capable of as a studio, and go from there, and then pitch the rest of it and use the remaining, 10, 13 minutes that's left.
Okay, so you've got your, because there are two novellas out right now for Miss Hyde, right?
4.
There's 4?
There's 4.
Oh, holy cow! Well, because I had read the first one, and I saw one other one, so I thought there was only 2 of them. Okay.
No, there's 4. There's Hello, My Name Is, which is the one that you read, then Painkiller, which is 2, Big Bad Wolf, which is number 3, and Sick Like Me, which is number 4, and I'm currently writing the 5th one right now.
Okay, so do you take the idea of these stories and the character and then write the episodes, or are you going directly from your books and turning those books into the episodes?
We're going directly from the books and turning them into the episodes, but what we're also doing is, because as you know, the novellas are written in first person. So that kind of limits a lot of the background stuff that you would see. So me and Bryan are working very closely together to create anything that needs to be shown that's going on outside of this character's, spectrum. So anything about the bad guys that we wouldn't have seen, anything, maybe police investigations that we wouldn't have seen, things like that. It's all working in the background behind the scenes of this novella. So we wanted to bring that into the series, and that's where we're kind of using to fill the gap.
Okay.
Talk to me a little bit about how you approach the screenplay, especially for an episodic television series, versus writing a story. How much more difficult is it to break it up into those smaller individual plot chunks?
Oh my gosh, it's really, really difficult, because the format is completely different, and most people wouldn't think it was that bad, but it really is, because you've got to separate dialogue not in the same way as we would as writers, when we're writing our novels and stories and things like that. It doesn't work anywhere near the same. And any action sequences that you have, where you're writing what these characters are doing or how they're doing it, it's a lot less detail. So whoever's directing, or the actors and things like that, they can just kind of let it flow out the way that it would naturally. So it doesn't contain nearly as much detail as the books do. You don't get basically the interior thinking of that character in there either. You don't include that at all. So it's really, really hard, and it's been really difficult for me to actually take the novellas and change them over into this new format. But I picked up a few books and started reading them, and then what really helped is actually working with the production studio and things like that, because they have a better understanding of it, and help knock out a first draft of what hopefully is going to be season 2. And then I went back and started from the very beginning. So they were really helpful in that as well.
I'm assuming when you're writing from book to screenplay, you're cutting out a lot of stuff that you would have loved, not just dialogue and introspection, but probably a lot of scenes too. You're having to either cut or merge. Is that really difficult for you, or did you find it kind of easy to say, yeah, this didn't need to be here, that should be there?
Right now, we haven't really gotten to that point where we're actually having to cut anything out as far as scenes go. If anything, it's actually worked pretty perfectly. We've had enough of those scenes to really fill things out and still have plenty of space to put things in. So I think once we actually get the first episode done, that it's actually going to work out, and hopefully we won't have to cut anything. But if it comes down to that, then of course we'll go back, see what needs to be cut. If anything, we've actually added to those original scenes. I know Bryan can definitely attest to that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the way it was explained to me how we were going to do it, I'm like, okay, I'm on board with this. And then I read through the first book, and I'm like, okay, put on my thinking cap here. And then, I was like, well, why don't we start doing this? Why don't we start doing, when Kendra was talking about a lot of the background stuff that's happening outside of the main character's field of scope. I was, and I'll tell you the truth. The one thing that I've really been happy about is we've been able to stay so true to the source material. I don't like making tons of comparisons to other things, but I mean, it's almost like if you've seen season 1 of Game of Thrones and then you read Song of Fire and Ice, you see where they were able to maintain the integrity of the original work and adapt it to screen beautifully. It's like, oh, thank God, it's not like another Aragon debacle. You actually did what you were supposed to do. So that's really, what we're doing, and that's what I'm really focusing hard on doing because, I mean, Kindra, wrote an amazing series, and I just want to maintain it for another medium.
Now, does any of your stuff bleed into that since you guys are writing in the same world? And I know your characters belong in there because of her original story. Will they show up, cameo, or will they be featured at all?
Well, I haven't written anything in this world as of yet. However, I do have some ideas to throw in there. And even with a particular character that, we talked about a little bit, I have some ideas to sort of throw toward them and throw towards other people. So there'll be some slight bleedings over of some of my stuff. I got to have a little bit of the Bryan touch.
Of course.
What is it like to work with another author's source material, as you said, and I know that you've worked with Kindra before, but what's it like to be able to, to take this novella and say, okay, I'm working on this. How do you get your head into her head space to be able to do that?
Honestly, it's I'm gonna get a little heavy. It's a blessing, really, and that's really I made the joke about my career is literally on the trails of the Kindra Sowder train, and it truly is because the book that got me known is a spinoff of her series already. So I've already been in her head. So this is really, it's literally another day at the office. It's a day that I'm grateful for because it's what I'm used to. It's my comfort zone. And we feed off each other so much that it's like every time one of us gives the other an idea, it's literally, get out of my head. Like literally, that we say that to each other at least twice a day.
Yep, it is.
So it's really great. It's really great from my end because, I'll sit here and I'll be like, well, I have ideas for this and blah, blah, blah. And when I was a younger, inexperienced writer, I used to always have this fear of never having enough, shall we say, material for something. I don't have that worry anymore. It's like we share parts of ourselves with each other, and then we each take that energy to our other projects where the other is not there, but that energy is still there and that chemistry is still there.
Well, that's a special, really intimate kind of relationship, that develops between two people when you're working together creatively, and that's a really cool thing. And you've told me this story before, but it was a couple of years ago now. Would you please relate the story of how you first connected with Kindra with the Permutation Archive?
Oh man, I love this story. And I actually have this story up on my website too, on bryantann.com. I have this story up on there too.
Wait, what was that website again, Bryan?
bryantann.com. Never self-promotion, that's me. So my whole everything, I've been a writer and a storyteller all my life. And when I first moved to New Hampshire, I was miserable. This was back in about 2006. That's when I first started working on my first novel. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of how-to with self-publishing. It was just, you did it. You threw crap on the wall and hope it stuck. You know, it was nothing like it is today, where you got a lot of people that you can model how you do things after. You did it yourself. Well, it didn't work out too well for me. So I quit writing for a lot of years. And then I started doing audiobook recording just by chance. Met up with the writer TJ Weeks. He liked what I did, and he invited me to write for an anthology he was doing called Painted Mayhem. One of the other authors in that anthology was Kindra Sowder. And, we would talk back and forth here and there. And writing that short story, I finished my second novel, which was the sequel to the first Bryce Creed book. I had started a sci-fi novel based on a Shadowrun character that I used to play, but I didn't know where it was going to go. I actually titled it on my laptop, literally, "Who the hell are you? Tell me who you are." I went back to it, and this was after I'd started reading the Permutation Archives, because I was looking for something new to read. First book, The Harvested. And I got really into it. I was midway through. I went back to "Who the hell are you?" And I just started writing. And I was like, next thing I knew, I'm going to Kindra while I'm walking to work one day, and it was July, burning up. I message Kindra and I say, "I have something to run by you. Can I call you while I'm walking to work?" She says yes. I pitch her which would end up being Invincible Heart, and would actually end up reshaping her idea of the Permutation Archives world. Kindra listened to me go on and on and on while I'm fat walking in 100-degree weather. And she goes, "Well, now you have no choice. You have to write this." And that's how it started. So I'm walking, so I get to work. I have sweat covering me. My t-shirt is completely stuck to my body. And I never felt more invigorated. All based on that. So it was 2016, I think it was. I get hit in the head a lot. And that's just the way it's been, and I haven't looked back since.
That's a good story. Katie, you're going to have to take over for me for a minute because the dogs are going ape crap, so it's going to mess up my mic.
Mine's been muted because I've got the same problem here. The dog keeps going crazy.
Well, you know what? Well, it's all right. I had a baby crying a few minutes ago.
Oh, puppies being puppies. Can't help it. I love that story, though. I love how you guys came together in just kind of a random way. And it's like you said earlier, Kindra, about networking. You came together in a random way, and then you built from that relationship a great book world. I mean, both of you guys have shared your love of the same book world and written your own stories within it. And now you're moving on to another project where you're still working together. And it's wonderful when you can find that connection in your writer's circle.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, it really is. It's so great because, I mean, honestly, I tell people all the time, I'll either, in one breath, I'll say Kendra's my sister, and then the other breath, I'll be like, that's also my writing wife. Because she knows that side, that writing side of me so well. You know, it's like, I could probably come to Kindra with like a convoluted mess of ideas for a story. She could wade through the mud and find what works and put law and order to it.
Oh, let me tell you how important that is. That happened last night. I was literally banging my head into a desk because I have this story. I know where the end point is. I know what should happen between those points, but I couldn't figure out how to get the characters to do it. And I desperately needed somebody who I could talk to and just bounce some ideas off of just to get the creative juices flowing. But there was nobody online. None of my writing friends were online. And I'm just sitting there staring for hours at my computer last night. I may have gotten 500 words written, and none of them were good.
Oh, no. That's the worst.
When you have that person you can bounce those ideas off of, God, it is so helpful.
Yeah, it also works too. We're in the same time zone, so that makes it a lot easier too.
That helps for sure.
And we're fussing to each other about stuff during the workday and everything.
Yeah. I need you to keep sane during the workday.
Exactly. Like literally, Kindra and I, in a 24-hour-a-day period, we speak at least maybe a combined 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's funny is that it's work but not work all at the same time.
Man, I need that. I need one of those people. Somebody get me one of those.
Well, I picture cutting off my arm and see if another Bryan grows, but I don't think the world's ready for that.
I'd have reached out to you, Bryan, but everybody was in bed. Damn it!
I was up. I was actually up a lot later last night than I usually am because I was finishing up the second season of Iron Fist.
You like the Marvel shows, don't you?
I love the Marvel shows. I
just finished binging Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I'm like, what do I watch next?
I definitely have to because this last season, I didn't sign out on it, but like I signed out on all of my shows. Like I just stopped watching all of my shows this last season because, I was working on different projects and I had different, things in my personal life going on. So it was like, nah, I can't deal with it. Thank God for Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah.
The bingeability is so good. I'll set stuff on and let it just run while I'm working sometimes.
And that's exactly what I do. Like literally the only time, for those that don't know, I'm getting engaged now. And, technically now because of that, I'm technically a grandparent. So so I stopped working to pay attention to the baby and play with her. But then when she starts getting fussy and, and it's like, you know what? I don't negotiate with her. Let's go see your grandmother. Go see your mother. I got work to do, damn it. Someone's got to put you and your uncle through college.
I know that feeling.
It's either writing this or I'm going on the corner wearing a skimpy dress. I think we'll get more money if I'm writing.
Although I would love to see that.
Hey, I have great legs. I can't deny.
My legs are the only part of my body that are in shape, and I think that's because I was a cyclist for so long. I've got these massive muscly thighs and calves, but everything else is like fat and droopy.
Pretty much that's pretty much me. That is pretty much me. My legs are.
I could be a leg model.
I could be. My legs are like from wrestling, from martial arts, and from football. But all the females in my bloodline have baseball bats for legs, so it's like.
I have a serious writing question for you guys.
Okay.
For all three of you. And so right now I am writing it doesn't have a title yet, but it's a action thriller, kind of a Jack Reacher kind of thing.
Nice.
Ex-military guy finds himself getting into trouble in the States for some reason or other. He's an awesome character. I'm having a lot of fun with the story, and I'm getting to that 45,000 word mark where I'm starting to kind of slow down because I know the end is in sight in another, however many chapters down the road, but I'm trying to figure out where I want to be right now, and I'm stuck at this spot where I've written my characters into this chapter, and now I don't know how the hell to get out of it, and I'm just kind of like, ugh. It's just all blah. It's not exciting, and I don't know how to recoup my losses here and keep moving forward. So what do you guys do when you get stuck in a chapter that just seems really blah or boring? How do you get through it? How do you break out of that? Not that you've ever written a boring chapter in your life.
I have. I have.
I know I've had. I can't say how many I've deleted. And normally for me, that comes closer to the end of, you know, the novel itself or the end of a series. So like when I was writing the Permutation Archives and I was getting to a point, you know, pretty much right before they go to take down the big bad guy, I had gotten to a point where I was completely stuck. I was like, I know the series is almost over and I don't know what to do. So basically what I had to do is walk away from it for maybe a couple of days, and then I went back, and then I was able to finally push through it. And Bryan was a big help there too, because the last book of that series meshes meshes really great. It goes right along with John Baker's book 2. So when I was like, hey, I need help with this, can you help me, because I'm stuck, he was right there. And it was like he was pretty much in my head if I was in the right headspace at the time to continue. And then with him helping me, it just helped me finish the rest of it. And we were good.
Now, what do you do when you're taking that couple days off of it? Besides picking Bryan's brain, are you working on a different project, or are you reading, or what are you doing to clear your head or to reinvigorate yourself?
Usually I'll go work on something else. When I was in the process of writing that book, I was in the process of, you know, starting the beginning of a new series for me, which is completely different than anything that I've ever done, and very controversial. So I went and I started working on that, and then I got a few thousand words in, and I was like, okay, now I'm ready.
I'll play video games. I'll literally go and play some video games for, you know, a little while and just completely let my brain reboot, because I'm very stubborn consciously. Subconsciously, I'm even more stubborn. And if I don't have something, if the story hasn't presented itself to me yet, I won't do it. And my subconscious won't do it. And as much as I'll try to force it and fight, that's why I don't do super great with deadlines, because I have to think of it on my own time. It has to come with me on its own, because if not, it's crap and I can't stomach that. So I'll do something like I'll play video games, or I'll watch a movie that gets my creative juices flowing. And then I'll be like, okay. And sometimes it just comes out that way. Sometimes bounce ideas I'll bounce ideas off of Kindra, or, you know, vice versa, or I'll bounce ideas off of Sharon, and, you know, go from there.
Okay. Interesting. What about you, Katie? How do you get through your slumps?
Before I answer that, we've actually got Joe with Go Indie Now posted, let somebody you trust read it and see if they can get you unstuck. And this comes from his days as a screenwriter. He says, if you know the ending, write the ending and try and work backwards. It's like losing your keys and retracing your steps in a weird writer way. I kind of like that advice.
That is very good.
That's good advice. I've actually heard someone say something like that before. Unfortunately, my brain just doesn't function that way, but I'm sure.
No, and I like that advice, Joe. You know, here's where I come into issues. Like with this story right now, I really want someone to be reading it as I'm writing it, because I really want somebody's input, because this is a different style of story that I've ever written before. However, I have a hell of a hard time getting people to do any kind of beta reading for me or advanced reading for me as it is. I've got to ask just tons and tons and tons of people, and even then I only get a handful back, because reading a story is so much of a time commitment for people, and I understand that. But yeah, so it's tough, and I can always ask my wife, but then she's always super nice to me about stuff, and she knows that, like, no, I need somebody outside of my family to take a look at this. But it's a great idea, Joe. Rating the ending, especially if you know what it is, because that can help shake some things loose. It's just all that connective stuff that I have a tough time.
Try doing like quid pro quo. reach out to another author that maybe writes in that same genre and offer to read their stuff in exchange for reading yours. So then you're getting that honest opinion from another author, and in time, or you're doing the same thing for them. You're offering your time to give them opinions, and that way it evens it out, and you're getting a different level of beta reading than just somebody who's generally
reading your stuff,
or like mom who will love you everything you write, or your wife, or family who will be a lot nicer to you than, say, another professional who's going to give you the criticism you need on a more even level.
Right.
But unfortunately, I don't know any other professional authors. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. Joe is also saying that you can act it out and read it aloud and see if something natural comes from that. And
I'll do that sometimes.
Oh, you know what?
It's actually a big help. Reading aloud is fantastic.
It really does.
Okay.
Like, I'll monologue as a character sometimes. I will actually monologue as a character, and then memory will come about. Seriously, that's how I started writing my first book, the Enforcer. I was literally monologuing as a character. I was in the bathroom monologuing as a character, and then it was like that one time I had to go to Pittsburgh to save that rich chick. And then it just happened. I put myself in the shoes of my character, and I'll act them out.
It works. It's great advice. Of course, people think you're crazy if they don't know what you're doing, and even if they do know what you're doing, they might still think you're crazy. But we're writers; we're crazy anyway.
Yeah,
I'm doing toilet theater. Leave me alone, Mom.
I can't. I really wanted, after reading the first of the Miss Hyde books, I really wanted to act out that book. I was like, wow, that's some good stuff.
It's really good.
Except for certain parts. There were good parts that you want to act out, but some parts maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the kitchen scene would be awesome for Kindra to act out.
Like which one now?
The kitchen scene before she goes clubbing.
Oh, you want me to do what Lauren does? I don't think so.
Oh yeah, yes. For those of you who haven't read the Miss Hyde novellas, they are horror and erotica, which is pretty much the perfect blend of anything.
Makes Bryan happy.
Yeah, that made me happy too.
I'm sure it did.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's just like, my mind goes in the gutter without me even trying. Before we even came on, I was like, Kevin was like, you should have gotten the link, and I was like, it went straight to my junk. It's like,
Well, even after I wrote the first one, I was like, hey, honey, I went to my husband, hey, honey, can you read this? Tell me if it's any good. And then really the only indicator was the look. Yeah.
Sharon is finishing up The Invincible Heart right now. She will have read all of my books right now. And there are a couple of times where she will look right at me and go, why? Why did you do that? Like last night, she read a particular scene where John Baker was in a little bit of trouble. And she was like, he's contemplating doing that, but he wouldn't really do it, would he? And then she starts reading, goes, why would you do that? It's like, couldn't have you had berries or something? I'm like, berries?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because my sister actually read The Scorned, which is the third book of the Permutation Archives, and she absolutely loves this series. But the last time I saw her was for my youngest nephew's birthday, named Caius, who actually inspired one of the characters of that series. She read it, and I went over there, and she was like, I'm not going to talk to you. Why? Why did you have to kill such and such and such and such? It had to happen. I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk to you. It's done. I'm not talking to you.
I've actually had that too. I actually had when a couple of people read Ed and Livy, I get, I'm going to choke you, right? Why would you do it like that? And I'm like, reasons?
Yeah, and you know what? Before I actually came on here, I had gotten a message from Sharon telling me that I would be very upset about Ed and Libby's ending. I haven't got a chance to read it yet.
She's such a snitch. She really is.
Snitches get stitches. Remember that.
That's
Yeah.
right. I haven't read Ed and Libby yet. I'm going to have to pick that up and check it out. It should be fun.
It's definitely different from anything that I've ever written by far. That's one that honestly, if it ever became a TV show, that would be weird because I wrote the book. That was like my therapy from my divorce. And my ex-wife actually came to me, "So I heard you wrote a book about me." I'm like, "It wasn't about you." My feelings on the divorce. She was like, "But I'm sure I'm not painted in a very positive light." And it's like, I don't have to answer to you anymore. The ring is off. But it's one of those books though where, like I said before, it's like when you push the nicest people in the world and you finally push them too far. I mean, things happen.
Yep.
Not my fault. I just write the story. I don't come up with, well, yeah, I do. So
And people don't realize the characters tell us where to go.
exactly. But if you say that in the court of law, then you're wearing one of those little outfits where you're like this forever.
I call it a love me jacket.
That's true.
Right.
Love you, love ya.
Now, Kindra, are you still running your publishing company, you and Ed?
We are.
God.
Yeah, because Bryan actually has Unbreakable Mind, which is the sequel to Invincible Heart, coming out with us in December, and then Concussion's also coming out with us as well. So, yeah, and my company's still the one putting out the Miss Hyde novellas too. So we've got all kinds of stuff coming. We're actually trying to see about getting some of the stuff for our Crossroads in the Dark series of anthologies made into kind of like a mini series kind of thing. So we're working on that too.
So are you accepting new clients or looking for new authors or anything like that?
Not at the moment, but if you know one of us.
Wink, wink, wink.
Well, Bryan, what happened over there?
What?
You went all yellow.
Oh.
I don't know. I just noticed that too. Maybe it's the end of the world as I know it.
Is it actually yellow in there, or is that just us
No,
seeing it?
nothing else has changed. It's I don't know.
His white balance just died.
It's radiation, Bryan. Get out of there. Oh, it's gone now.
Yep. I'm so badass I can stop the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah, that's so weird.
Just call me the fifth horseman. Bang.
All right,
man.
guys.
All this blasphemy is gonna get me one day.
Let's hope not, or I'll be really screwed too.
God knows I'm kidding.
Joe said something else here, like some bad 80s horror TNA and decapitation. No, it's not bad though. It's not
There's
bad.
no such thing as bad 80s anything. Okay.
Oh wait! We're going a little too far here, Bryan.
Wait, is that why they keep remaking everything from the 80s? Because we're all trying to relive the nostalgia.
Oh.
All I know is this: if we can get movies that are on par with Maniac Cop 1 and 2, Shud, the original, not the second, the Jack Death movies, Trancers, and Night of the Comet, word.
I think that I've maybe seen one of those movies. Oh, Joe says, well, bad meaning good. That's right, because in the 80s that changed. Michael Jackson changed that for us.
Yeah. Bad means good.
That's
right. What that teacher on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air said.
Well, guys, we're getting to our hour mark here. Can you guys tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now, just as we recap? Bryan, you want to tell us what you're working on?
So just finished Unbreakable Mind. Just came back from a round of edits. That will be coming out December of 2018 for the holiday season. So if you like military mayhem with a little bit of a love story, That's there. I'm also working on The Concussion, which is going to be a straight horror novel. My first actually straight horror novel. It's not a short or anything. It's actually going to be a straight up novel. This one is a book that is the most difficult I have ever written because I am reaching back to a lot of past pains to fuel it. So I'm literally opening old wounds to write this book. And then after that, I'm going to be getting to the third Bryce Creed book, and then the third John Baker book, all while co-writing the screenplay for the Ms. Hyde TV show.
No, wait, dude. Can you give me a little bit more detail on Concussion? Because you told us a whole lot of deep stuff, but you didn't really give us any detail. What's this going to be about?
All right, well, I joke about, I'll always joke about how I get hit in the head a lot. Well, it's not really a joke. It's really, I've suffered quite a few concussions in my life. I don't know exactly how many.
You get 3 freebies, right?
Huh?
You get 3 freebies, right? And then they start to count?
Yeah, pretty much. So I passed my freebies twice now. Yeah. But in this story, the Concussion is about a man who he got a concussion and he starts to lose a piece of himself or gain a piece of himself that he never had before. I like to think of it as Cujo with head injuries.
Okay.
When, because my biggest fear is that the next head injury I have is going to be the one, and I'm either going to be a vegetable or I'm going to lose part of myself. So I'm literally writing one of my biggest fears. And the character in the book, a lot of his life and his past pains are things that I went through in life. I touched on domestic abuse, sexual assault, body shaming, all things that I went through. I'm tackling with this character. It's another bit of a catharsis and kind of finally closing a chapter.
Now, this sounds more like a drama or something literary, but you're saying it's horror though?
Oh, it's gonna be horror. Oh,
okay.
I'm throwing some of the Bryan Tann spin into it, but yeah, there's gonna be a lot of aspects. What's funny is that I try really hard to say I'm gonna maintain in one spot or another spot, but I always at the end of the day have a little bit of everything in everything I write. There's some people that just have that talent of it's going to be this.
Yeah.
And it is. But with me, it becomes so broad that I have to find, well, what's going to be the basic? And that's what it is.
Okay.
So
okay. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that then, because that'll be really different for you. And I hear what you're saying about some writers really sticking within their one thing. I had a period of my life, and this was maybe 12, 15 years ago now, where I was dealing with a lot of personal issues, and I was going from my ex-wife to being single and being a single parent, and it was, it's a shitty time. It's a shitty thing to go through for all of us that have been there. And I picked up an author that I hadn't read before, Iris Johansson, and she writes mass market, books that are they're kind of mystery thrillers. And every book, and I'm not dogging on her because I really enjoy them, but every book kind of was the same thing, and you knew what to expect. You were going to get some action, some drama, a little bit of romance, and then you were going to get a happy ending once you were done. And I got really hooked on those because I was like, okay, finally it's something that's a little bit predictable. And it sounds funny that you enjoy that, but it was actually nice. It was a little bit of stability for me in a really unstable part of my life. But I also really love it when authors will come out with, you know, horror, 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 and then all of a sudden hit you with something completely different. You're like, holy shit, where the hell did this come from? You know,
Right.
So that's kind of a cool thing. Well, Kindra, we've been talking a lot about your projects on the show, but will you kind of tell us a little bit about what you're working on real quick before we wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm working on, of course, the next Miss Hyde novella is titled After Midnight. I'm also working on a short story about our bad guy in that series. It's kind of an origin short story that's going to go in an anthology. It's called Another Beautiful Nightmare. And I'm also working on, of course, the show, but I've got another thing that I'm working on that I haven't gotten to work on nearly as much. It's a series called Ashes of Heaven. It's going to be a 3-part series. It's going to be basically, I'm taking religion, and I know it's probably going to piss a lot of people off. I'm okay with that. Taking, yeah, see, Bryan's not. It's going to take religion and completely flip it on its head. So basically, you know, who we thought was the good guy is not actually the good guy, and the guy we thought the bad guy was the bad guy is not actually the bad one at all. It's actually the one trying to save humanity from the other guy. So it's definitely going to be completely different. It's going to be highly controversial, and it's going to be awesome.
That sounds awesome, and it actually, it's funny. It was not very long ago that on my crazy shit folder, which is my folder of ideas on Google Docs, that I started outlining something kind of similar to that. Not quite the same thing, but the same kind of idea. I have a weird sordid history with religion throughout my life, and I don't. Yeah, and we don't talk about religion or politics on the show,
Right.
which is probably a good thing. But yeah, we all have our views and opinions, and it's okay to mess with other people's if you really want.
All hell, Bob Barker.
And have your pets spayed or neutered.
That's right. Spay or neuter, Ralph Nader.
No, I'm curious, and this isn't a political thing. This is strictly a gender thing or a woman thing that I want to ask you two about. There has been an awful lot of stuff on the news lately about women who have been marginalized or have had terrible things happen in their lives and have either reported it or not reported it, but either way are still being marginalized. And I have no idea what that feels like. There's no way I could. But as two women who are professionals and extremely intelligent, how does all of this make you guys feel? I mean, what do you think when you see this kind of stuff happening?
I'm pretty much like Katie. I mean, she's shaking her head down there, and that's pretty much my reaction every single time because, you know, I feel for these women and I can understand and, you know, obviously I can empathize with them. It's just, it's everywhere. And now granted, you know, when a lot of people say, because I get to hear this all the time, oh, well, she's got to be lying. There's no way. And then I'm like, okay, why would she wait 20 years to report something? And then I'm like, considering what the environment is like for women that actually do report and that same attitude, I can understand why she didn't. And I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at with it right now. It makes me feel awful. I mean, I haven't really experienced anything to that level like they have. So I can't really say from that kind of place, but from where I am and what I've been through myself is I empathize, highly empathize with them, and I feel horrible.
Well, and I have 3 daughters of my own, and I know if something happened to one of my daughters, of course I would be furious and I would be heartbroken, but I can't imagine them trying to get justice and being completely denied that. Mm-hmm. I just don't understand. I don't know why that popped into my head just now. I'm sorry, Katie, but I don't know. There's been so much of that's been, you know, popping up on the news lately, and it's just I just don't understand.
It's a multifaceted problem, which is the reason it can't easily be fixed. Part of it, religion is a huge part of the separation of women and men and how they're treated. Another thing is what they learn in the home. Another thing is how they're treated in society. And you can't fix one and expect it to work. It has to be something that's fixed socially all around. We have to look at how we're treating each other. And it goes back to respect. A lot of people aren't taught to respect, how to respect, to be respectful. And everybody's version is so different that we end up getting this, you know, there's a lot of people empathizing, a lot of people who are hateful towards people stepping out. You've got the men on one side saying now they're afraid to work around women because what if they do something wrong? Then you have the women saying, well, we deserve to be in a workplace where we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff happening to us. You know, there's so many facets to this problem. It can't simply be fixed.
Right, and it's not just that our justice system really needs to be fixed too when it comes to things like this. It's not just, you know, of course, I'm right there with you, Katie, that kind of respect needs to be taught, because for some reason it's not. And the justice system kind of perpetuates that in the fact that a lot of women that come forward and the men that they're accusing and things, and they actually go through the whole process, the punishments aren't enough. Or they're being, you know, set free because, you know, it'll ruin their lives, you know, things like that. And I'm like, okay, well, what about the woman whose life they have already ruined, because she's going to be living with this for the rest of her entire life, no matter how long that is. And it's not just going to be one simple, you know, thing going on in her mind. It's going to be multiple things over and over, and she gets to relive that, and there's no way to erase it.
And it's really bad too, because even with, you know, with what, you know, Terry Crews went through, and people, because I follow Terry Crews on Twitter, and people were like, well, Terry Crews, you're a big guy, why didn't you just do this? And it's like, when it's happening,
it's not always that simple.
Yeah, it's never that simple.
No.
You know, and I recently saw a tweet from an individual who shall remain nameless, but tried to do the victim shaming, saying, well, if it was that bad, why didn't her and her family and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, dude, I'll put it to you like this. I never said anything because it would have ruined my family twice. First time and second time, it would have ruined my family. Nobody would have believed me. So I kept my mouth shut. And that's a lot of times when people, you know, you're always so worried that no one's going to believe you, because there are people that say things out of spite. So when you know that you are right and you say something, no one wants to believe you.
And the consequences, even for doing the right things and for speaking up, like you just said, can be severe. You know, I mean, and that's what I think people don't realize. These people who are coming forward, with women and men, they're facing some severe consequences just for coming forward. It's not like they're saying, hey, I'm going to hold the press conference and I'm going to do this. Yeah, it'll be great. No, this was a major life-altering event that has probably haunted them for many, many years.
Yep. And then people lash out why they act a certain way, behave a certain way. Well, because they're dealing with it as best they can. And now we're in a world of social media where every Tom, Dick, and Harry and Jagoff wants to have an opinion. And then it's not that hard for them to go onto any form of your social media and start harassing you.
Well, and it's easy to be brave behind a computer screen. You know, it's easy enough to go and just type something and put it up there because, you know, no one actually sees you. And that's the biggest thing. You're not actually going up to someone and saying it to their face. And I say this all the time, it's super easy to be that brave to say something like that to somebody when they don't have to see your face.
And it all goes back to respect. People don't understand that their words have an effect on another person. You know, that old saying, you know, your mom says, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. But that's a legitimate thing.
Absolutely.
If what you're saying isn't for a specific purpose and is just to be spiteful, why are you speaking? If your purpose is simply to hurt somebody else, that's not right. And you shouldn't be proud to do that, whether in person or online. But we're in a society that everybody, that mob mentality, people say one thing and then they gather up behind that person. Yeah, keep going. And we push people into fights.
Well, it's my opinion. My opinion matters and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. You know what? Your opinion doesn't always matter. Okay? You've got an opinion. You also got a butthole. And guess what? I don't care about it.
In a room full of people who respect each other and respect each other's opinions, they can have civil disagreements.
Right.
Without it resulting to hurtful, spiteful comments, name calling, or fistfights. They can respectfully disagree with each other's opinion, and they can deliver very passionate statements towards their opinions and understand that their opinion is being made, and that's it. It's not offending somebody else personally. It's an opinion that they're stating.
Right.
They respect each other, and that's where we're missing. We're missing that respect.
Well, you want to know what's funny, Katie? When you mentioned, and Kindra too, you mentioned about it's easy to be anonymous. I worked with a guy who, there was a discussion going on one of the local Pittsburgh news Facebook pages, and I can't remember if it was brought up about Colin Kaepernick or what, but a guy that I worked with when I was a security supervisor, who actually was one of my subordinates, real hardcore conservative type, but didn't really have a clue. He got caught making some very, very heated and not very racially polite comments. And it almost got him fired. It actually got him sent someplace where it's like, well, now you're at this site, you might as well quit because you're never leaving. Well, he had to look me in the eye one day, and he goes, well, first words out of his mouth, well, you know I'm not racist, but, and it's like, the fact that you have to throw but.
Yeah, that's the way every racist statement seems to start. You know I'm not a racist, but I'm going to say something racist.
Yeah, if you're anything of an ist,
yeah.
If you have to say, I'm not insert ist here, but, and it's like, all right, I see your tiki torch or your I hate women t-shirt. Or, go ahead. Say what you got to say.
Yeah.
And I will be tuning you out while I listen to Doing the Butt by EU.
As always, my philosophy is just don't be an asshole. You know, we all can think what we want, but you know what? We're all people, and I don't have to respect your opinions. You don't have to respect my opinions, but we can try to be decent people. We can not be assholes to each other and try to make the world a little bit better.
See, that's where religion went wrong. The golden rule across the board has always been don't be an asshole in some form or another. But religion decided that they wanted to put everybody into little boxes, and you have to follow these rules to be in this religion, these rules to be in that religion, when the basis of them all is basically morality. Don't be an asshole. Treat people how you want to be treated. You know, try and live a good life. That's it.
We need to go back to a tribal system.
I'm joining your tribe, Bryan.
Woohoo! Sign me up. Let's do this.
You can be my protector. I'm too weak to protect
I don't like being too hot or too cold. I want to walk around comfortably naked, or at least in a loincloth.
Well, then it's going to have to be 75 degrees year round so that we can make that happen.
So, California?
Oh, I don't know. They have too many fires right now.
Yeah. They are on fire. Always.
Well, once again, Katie, you've gotten us way off track.
Oh, Katie.
Claim to fame, right?
Although it seems like whenever I'm on the show, we have like insane anarchy. It's always laughing anarchy.
But it's always fun,
Lanarchy.
Oh, shit. All right, well, it really is time to wrap things up tonight. Well, hello. Did you want to come in and say goodnight to everybody? Well,
Are you going to join in on the Lanarchy?
Yeah, that's right. He likes anarchy.
Oh.
So, Jazzy, are you going to do the rollout for us? Here, go up to the microphone. Squeak. Nothing. Ah, not made for show business.
Well, I don't
Well,
work with children or animals.
That's right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us on another episode of Spilling Ink, the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and the artists in the publishing industry. Thank you to our two wonderful guests tonight, Bryan and Kindra. Thank you so much for joining us. That's you guys. I like how Kindra just shrugs, like, yeah, I'm a badass. I know.
Yeah, I'm still rapping. Meanwhile, I'm throwing gang signs.
And Katie, it was lovely talking to you again.
Absolutely. Can't wait to do it again next week. And for all of our viewers, make sure that you click the subscribe button and the little bell so that you get notified when we do future episodes. We should be doing Drinks with Authors, our monthly recap show next Friday, followed by Saturday. We'll bring some more authors on to introduce you to. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Caw-caw!